So I'd be like, hey babe, what do you want for dinner? Well, as a Chinese, I'll just have noodles. What?
It's delicious.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. It's Lavi here. So we're gonna do an episode of Quarantine and Chill. Welcome. So today I wanted to talk about relationships. No, I'm not in one. Yes, I am single. Yes, I'm looking for a quarantine bae, but that is it. No strings attached, you know, throw that away. So yeah, I was talking to a friend recently about relationships and culture and stuff, and it kind of got me thinking about my exes. So I was like, ooh, let me try and make a video on this, because you know I've got nothing else better to do apart from 4 assignments and a dissertation, but you know we still got time to communicate. So yeah, let's start with my ex I was with in China, who is category 2 and then, you know, to category 1. So I won't say his name. Yeah, we'll just call him Alex. Alex, we met in England, in Leeds, in my hometown, and you know, we hit it off and stuff. When I met him, I'd already applied for the British Council Teaching in China course. So I was supposed to do my interviews and stuff, so I didn't know if I had got it yet. So at that time, for me, it was kind of just like, you know, get your groove on situation. So it wasn't gonna escalate like it did for 2 years. So yeah, when we met, we hit it off. We were into the same things and stuff, and you know, I felt like he was pretty much the westernized Asian. But quickly changed. And yeah, so then when I did get the job, I basically said, hey, let's just cut it off. But at that time, we'd been together for about 6 months already, and his plan was to stay in Leeds because he was doing his masters here. So that's kind of how we like met. So he was already here for a year, and he was planning to stay here to find a job. So I was saying, yeah, I'ma head out to Beijing. You can stay here, that's cool. You know, we're not really a thing. But then, you know, he kind of still wanted to carry it on, and I was like, well, are your family really going to accept me if we do carry it on? Because with me, if I'm gonna carry this on into an actual real relationship, then at some point I'm gonna need to meet your family, fam, and you're gonna meet mine, which is a rarity when a guy meets my family. There's only been, including him, there's only been 2 guys I've ever introduced to my family, and that's saying a lot. Okay, what happened was, yeah, he was like, yeah, cool, we'll introduce you to my family and stuff, when we get to China and whatnot. So I went out in 2016 in August, and then he followed me in November. Yeah, he came out in November. So then we didn't really have the conversation of how we're gonna, you know, navigate living together after only being together for about 6 to 8 months. So that was like, boom, it just happened immediately. So that was, you know, kink number 1 in there, because I love my space, and giving away my space was quite hard. It's a very difficult time for me. Comes over, everything's cool here, whatnot, and then I met his sister. His sister didn't speak a word of English, and for some reason he introduced me as only his friend, which obviously was a red flag for me. And clearly she could see that I wasn't just a friend. but he said I was just a friend. So she was giving me the side eye the whole time, which was kind of awkward. But no, they were lovely. I met his niece and stuff and whatnot, and that was a lovely time. And he could see that I made an effort. This is the thing, I will always make an effort. If I'm riding with you, I'm gonna ride till the wheels fall off, simple as, right? I'm not this, you know, corny whatever. Anyway, so then it progressed, everything was cool, and then we had our first argument, which I was like, oh, like, I'm not feeling this. So I was like ready, just and dusted to just leave it. But no, he didn't want to break up. Like, he wanted to still be together and try it out and whatnot, because his go-to argument was always like, oh, I can't speak the language, and like we can't communicate and stuff. And I was like, we communicate, oh, it's obviously not, we're communicating just fine. It's not the language barrier, it's just that you don't know how to communicate without shouting. And then with me, if you're gonna shout at me, I'm not gonna shout at you back. I'm going to talk to you in a civilized tone, but you're not going to win an argument because I'm being calm and you're being irate, and then you get more irate because I'm being calm. Like, how's that going to work? So that was an issue for me at the beginning, and I was just like, well, if we're going to argue about you not being able to communicate, then where do we go from here? So I was ready to break that off, and that was when we took a holiday to Sanya in the south of China, in Hainan. And that's when he kicked off about well, we had to kick off because of the whole staring issue of the Chinese staring at me. And we were on the beach at one point, and there was a lady that was just hovering and wanted to take a picture of me while I was in my bikini on the beach with him. And I said to him, yo, look, can you tell her to go away? Because I told her to go away in English and Chinese and in ethnic. Do you know what I mean? I was like, yo, bitch, like, move. And she wasn't moving. So I asked him politely, can you, like, translate? And he did, but then she wasn't listening to him whatsoever. And I was like, is there anything else you can do to tell her to go away? But that's when I realized he didn't have the same mentality that he did when we were in England compared to when we were in Beijing. So that was another red flag. But you know, when you're in lust rather than love, I would say, you don't tend to notice when you should. So that was another argument, and I was just like, I'm done. For me to be done so easily like that, I knew I wasn't in love, but I just carried it on anyway. I don't know why. I think it was just, we did have an emotional bond, but for some reason, yeah, the sex was good. For some reason, we just carried on. Yeah, and then we'd have really good high times when we could do stuff together, like going to events together and going and just chilling out together, watching a movie together, cooking together and stuff. And then we'd have very low points of where he just wouldn't talk to me whatsoever. And I think it had more to do with that I was working and he wasn't. He'd never worked a day in his life. It's always been going to uni, studying, and he was always on the agenda of what his parents wanted for him, and he wanted to do something else at that stage. So when it came to coming back to China, he's not originally from Beijing, so it was a big city for him. It's something different. So when we were in Beijing, him looking for a job, he found immensely difficult to find, and at the time he didn't really know what he wanted to do either, so that obviously was a bit of pressure. And then that hit home with the money situation, because he wasn't making his own money, he was still living off mum and dad. I think it kind of, you know, nicked at him a bit that I was the main breadwinner and it was my flat, not his, not ours. And it was only towards the end where he revealed that those those little nicks and crannies were what were affecting him mentally, with like me saying, oh, it's my flat and stuff, because technically it was, my name was on the lease. Like, I didn't know we were saying we're living together, it's our house, because he wasn't paying any bills. So, you know, what am I supposed to do? So but what I noticed was after when I talked to friends while in Beijing about it, was he slowly started to change. And then when we would have conversations, I think probably a year and a half into it, he would start, when he finally did get a job, that was what was the change factor. When he started working in that company and being surrounded by other Chinese guys and having that conversation, obviously, about me and our relationship, he started to talk in a third person when he got home. So I'd be like, hey babe, what do you want for dinner? Well, as a Chinese, I'll just have noodles. What? Like, why are you talking in third person? It would always be like, well, as a Chinese, or Chinese people do this, or da-da-da. I'm like, no, I'm asking what you want as one person, not as a collective. I'm not dating the whole of China. Like, I'm just dating you. And that was another red flag. I think I've mentioned about 3 or 4 red flags already. So then it came ahead where, like, I'm cool with him going out and stuff, but he never did that. It was not in his repertoire to do that. So he stayed out, didn't call me. The last thing he mentioned was that he drank a bottle of wine. He never drinks that much, and he was like comatose at his friend's house, which was another red flag for me, saying, you at your friend's house. And he sent me a video of him on the bed with another guy and another guy drinking, and he was wasted, right? So then I'm calling, it goes to voicemail, then calling, the phone is switched off, and then it's the next day. He doesn't come back until midday, rolling through the door, stinking of booze, and all he had to say was he's sorry, his phone died and stuff. And I was like, this isn't you. This isn't what you do. And I don't know who this is, because this isn't the same person I started out with at the beginning. And like, at the time I realized that I had no connections to his friends. I had no numbers to call. The only person I knew was his cousin, and I still don't even know what her name was. I had no connections whatsoever to find out if he was alive or dead, because he stopped talking to his mother. He never really had a relationship with his dad. He only had a real relationship with one of his twin sisters, which I met, but he never really communicated properly with them. And I never knew how to contact them either if something did happen to him, because he's in a completely different city to where he was brought up and where his family are. So that triggered me, because I was like, well, technically I'm responsible for you if something happens, you know, and then it's down on the foreigner. I'd be deported and, you know, done with a crime or whatnot. I didn't know what would have happened if something had happened to him. So then that's the mother nature inside of me. I cared for this person, right? So then it just kind of clicked for me when I was like, well, I don't have all this information. This is weird for me not to know your friends. And in every relationship I've had, I've always been friends with my partner and their friends. I've always known who their circle was, who they hung around with, and I'd always be able to have a conversation with their friends as well. So that was another red flag. And it was at that moment where I thought, this isn't a relationship we can continue down. This isn't respect, for one, and this is not how I would like to be treated in my own house. Yes, I said it, in my own house. So that was, you know, it for me. And it only came to a head where we mutually agreed to separate, because it just wasn't working. He wasn't communicating anymore. I felt like anytime I would try and have a conversation, it would turn into a fight, and it would always turn negative towards me, as though I was not listening. He couldn't communicate because of the English barrier, which wasn't actually the case because he could speak English. He just was having some mental internal issues that he decided to clam up because of his peers talking to him in his ears about what, and him coming back and telling me stuff about foreigners do this, foreigners do that, foreigners in China dating foreigners and stuff. And I was like, you are dating a foreigner, like you were in a foreign land not so long ago. So for you to come back and talk in third person, I'm not here for this mess. Like, no, we're not doing this. So we broke up, and that was probably, it lasted for 2 years. It was so nice, and then it went downhill when we got to Beijing. So I feel like if we stayed in the UK, things might have been different. But what I realized is that he was much more of a sheep than I suspected, and that wasn't for me. I'm looking for a leader. I'm looking for a person with ambition and hope for their destiny, their future. They want to look above the horizon, not just underneath it. And I feel like I was kind of trapped in a way. I was sold a dream, and then the dream kind of like just, you know, disintegrated once we were back in his motherland, basically. And being surrounded by all those, you know, people and social interactions and stuff made him doubt himself, and he started to follow people. But then one of my good friends said to me, maybe he was always like that. Maybe you just saw a different side to him because he was in England, and he created this persona because he wasn't surrounded by his stuff that he's common with. And I was like, damn, that's deep. He changed his whole personality while being in another country, but he was always like that, and maybe I just didn't see it. So yeah, with dating outside your culture, outside your race, there is a lot more to it than you really suspect. Because at one point he said he stopped talking to his family because he wanted to concentrate on our relationship. And I said to him, no, I've been rooting for you to talk to your mother because you don't know how long your parents have got in life. And for you to cut off that tie because you're trying to concentrate on our relationship but you're not even talking to me, that was absolute bull cocky poo poo, right? No, you're not doing that for me, you were doing that for yourself. So I know that in Chinese culture, the family orientation is so important, and for someone to come in from the outside and break that dynamic is like mind baffling. It's crazy. So as a foreign person going into that dynamic, you can never break that bond. The child will always have to do what the family say. It's basically the saying in black culture, when your mum says to you, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. The Chinese culture is, I brought you into this world, you're gonna keep paying me back until I die. Okay? Simple as. You're gonna do as I say and keep on doing it until I'm satisfied, or you cut off. Simple as. And that's what I learned. I'm not saying that all Chinese are like that, don't get me wrong, because all black people are not all the same as well. I'm just saying that's what I learned from that relationship, and also from friends' relationships as well. But like I said, you have the category 1, 2 and 3. It just depends on the family dynamic and the traditions that that family still upholds. So it's different for everyone. It's different within the majority of China from north to south. It's completely different everywhere. So I guess it's just, if you are willing to hop into an interracial relationship, you just gotta be ready, but also know a bit more about that culture. Don't be asking questions, be ready to learn yourself. Like, be integrated, be understanding, be a keen listener, communicate. If they're saying I don't understand English from day number 1, okay, it's a wrap, bye. Like, communication is important, and if you don't have that as step 1, then it's not gonna work. I do wish him the best of luck. Like, we haven't talked for a moment, well, since we broke up, because his definition of a friend is completely different to my definition of a friend. His definition of a friend after breaking up with them is, I'll be there if you need help, i.e. Bob the Builder. My definition of a friend is, we can still talk and whatnot if you need help with anything, if you need to communicate, if you just need to talk, if you want to hang out, whatnot. Cool, I'm down with that. Completely different. So I wasn't gonna waste my time with that. I didn't need Bob the Builder. I'm basically Bob the Builder myself. Like, I don't need that. So yeah, it ended happily, and then it kind of went a bit south towards the end. So yeah, interracial dating can be hard work, but it needs both of you to survive and be successful. But you also have the society aspect of it coming into it. So you need to be able to know how to be strong with each other and understand each other, and basically not be a follower, not be a sheep in that instance of listening to society and speaking in third person. Throw that away. You don't need that. You need to be able to know that that person is their own person. You're your own person. You're both strong people. Whatever, you're independent minded, cool, work together, but don't let society affect what you have going on. So yeah, I guess that's it really. I just wanted to talk about that particular interracial relationship with the Chinese man, since you know we're in Coronaville. So yeah, stay tuned for the next one, because the next interracial date, what do you call it? Interracial dating? So like, or would you call it intercultural dating? So like, as some of you may know, my background is Jamaican, but like, say if I dated someone who was from Africa, is that interracial dating or is that intercultural dating? Or would you say it's the same thing? Anyway, we'll see. We'll have that conversation next time. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in, and stay home, stay safe. Bye!